I'm not a huge fan of flip-top carts because you can't use both tools at the same time. So this is what I came up with. A larger stand for my Dewalt planer, and this is a motorcycle lift, and it is super heavy, which means it will provide some stability so this won't fall over when I'm using it. It has a mobile base and you can raise it to a comfortable working height, and then when you're done you can lower it and tuck it back away. I'm going to try to use as many materials as I possibly can that I have on hand here for this build. This here is a very old maple cutting board that is coming apart at the seams, so I am going to fix it and make it usable again, and this I think is going to be a perfect top for our stand. If you're going to make something like this, you obviously don't need to make your top just like this. You can simply use a piece of plywood, or if you want to thicken the profile, then you could just double up on it and use 2 pieces of plywood. Now, just to be clear, that was not a mistake. I purposely did not glue that section because I won't be able to fit it in my thickness planer if it was completely glued up. So now I am going to be able to run these 2 pieces through, clean them up, and then glue that last section. For the legs, I am also using maple. I'm giving them a thicker profile. I think they're going to look nicer, and they are also going to be a lot stronger, and there's going to be a lot of weight on this because that Dewalt thickness planer weighs about 100 pounds. This stand is going to have 1 drawer, and so I'm going to need to build a cavity in which that drawer will be able to slide into. So I'm cutting everything up now, and I'm going to be assembling it with pocket holes. Now, I'm not a big fan of pocket holes, but for shop furniture it's fine, but I purposely made sure that these pocket holes will not be visible when the entire project is complete. You can assemble the legs with pocket holes as well if you'd like, but I'm going to try something new. I picked up this dowel jig, and I am going to use dowels to assemble these legs. Dowels are super strong, and the best thing is that they're not visible, so this is going to look a lot nicer. I'm going to be putting numbers on the sides of each piece that I'm going to be referencing to make my dowel holes. These numbers are going to prevent me from drilling holes in the wrong locations. This is the drawer cavity that we made earlier, and this is going to serve two purposes. First, it's going to give me a place to insert a drawer, and second, this is where I'm going to be able to fasten my legs to. I ended up making a mistake here. Before I attached my legs, I should have drilled dowel holes so that I could attach the last horizontal support. So I'm going to end up going with pocket holes here. Luckily, this is going to be not too visible since it's in the back of the base. I figured I would try to conceal those holes anyway using a different approach. So I'm going to just simply glue some of these dowels in there. And later on, when they dry, I'm going to cut them off, and hopefully that will make them less noticeable. These casters are 4 inches in height, and they are wider than my base. I didn't have any stock that was wider, and to be honest, I don't think it would have looked very nice either if it was that stocky. So I'm going to attach a piece of scrap to cover the exposed portion of this caster. These dowels are now dry, so I'm going to cut them flush to the board and sand everything smooth. There are still some little holes visible here, so if you add a little glue and detach any vacuum that you might have on your sander, you can pass over it a few times and you'll have a very nicely filled hole. It is now time to finish our top. Since I have this drum sander, I'm going to use this to get a nice finished surface. If you don't have this, an orbital sander will definitely get the job done. I'm also going to add a chamfer to the edges, and I do like to add a little extra protection, so I usually add a coat or two of polyacrylic on my shop furniture. If you're looking to build something like this, I do have plans available in my Etsy shop. I will link it below in the description. I'm not going to get into detail here on drawer installation. I'm sure there are plenty of videos on YouTube for that, but it's a pretty simple process once you get through it once. It's almost time to attach our top, so I'm going to be pre-drilling holes in these stretchers. These are the holes where I'm going to eventually screw into the top to fasten it permanently. The rear holes are going to be a little bit larger to allow for seasonal expansion. Now it's time to build our tool stand that fits underneath. This is a motorcycle lift. It is super heavy duty, and it should be very stable to hold a lightweight tool like my sander. By attaching a socket to my drill, I can quickly raise and lower this stand. All the parts that I used, including this lift, are linked below in the description. The first thing I'm going to do is remove the wheels. I'm going to use longer screws and bolts so that way I can attach the wheels through the base and into a piece of plywood. This will give me an easy way to attach the actual lift mechanism. I'm adding these pieces of wood inside because it's going to give me a thicker piece of wood behind my plywood to attach my lift. I'm going to be drilling 4 holes on each side of this lift. If you're going to be doing this, be careful that the holes are placed in locations where the screw heads won't interfere with the rollers. At this point of the project, I ran out of scrap plywood, so instead of buying an entire sheet for this little small part that I needed here, I decided to glue up some scrap 2x4s that I milled down, and I'm going to make the platform in which my sander is going to be sitting on top of. This stand needed to be leveled off a bit, so I'm inserting this strip to correct the angle. Is this a better option than building a flip-top cart? And that's really what I want to know here. So if you have one, or if you have any thoughts on this, please leave it in the comments. I'd really like to know what you think. All of the parts for this, and of course the plans, are linked below in the description. If you're new to the channel, please check out my other videos, and if you like what you see, please think about subscribing. That's a wrap for this one, everybody. I'm really liking how this came out. Please let me know what you think. Have a great one, everybody, and I'll see you soon.